I used to think love was something you could feel in your hands. Warm. Steady. Certain. But the truth is, love is something you only understand the moment it betrays you. For 3 years, I lived in darkness. Or at least, that's what everyone believed. They believed I was blind. Fragile. Dependent. They believed I was lucky that a man like him would marry me. What they never knew was that my eyes had already healed. I could see the world again. Every color. Every lie. And the biggest lie of all was the man I planned to marry. I remember the day the bandages came off. The doctor smiled and said, "Your recovery is perfect." But my father didn't smile. He only looked at me carefully and said, "Don't tell anyone yet." At the time, I didn't understand why. I was so excited. I wanted to surprise my fiancé on our wedding day. I wanted him to see me walk toward him, not as a blind woman, but as someone whole. And then, there was the other surprise. The secret my father had kept from the world. I wasn't just his daughter. I was his only heir. The empire everyone admired from afar was meant to be mine. But my father wanted to be sure. He wanted to know whether the man I loved truly loved me, or the version of me he thought was weak. So I agreed. I stayed silent. I stayed blind. And I watched. The hotel lobby smelled like flowers and celebration the day I arrived early. I wanted to hear him practice his vows. I wanted to feel that excitement everyone talks about before a wedding. Instead, I saw them. My fiancé. And my best friend. Her hands were on his chest. His lips were far too familiar with hers. They didn't hear me. They didn't see me. And for a moment, I wished I couldn't see either. My heart didn't break loudly. It shattered quietly. Piece by piece. With every laugh they shared. With every touch they thought was hidden. I stood there, perfectly still. Watching the two people I trusted most plan a future without me. And that's when I understood something terrifying. They weren't just cheating. They were waiting. Waiting for the wedding. Waiting for my inheritance. Waiting for me to sign everything over, without ever seeing the knife in my back. Later that day, she found me. My best friend. Her voice was sweet. Too sweet. She pressed a thin piece of fabric into my hands and said, "This will look beautiful on you." A cheap night dress. She called it my wedding gown. She smiled while she did it. Smiled because she thought I couldn't see the cruelty in her eyes. I wanted to scream. Instead, I bowed my head. I thanked her. Because sometimes, silence is sharper than words. When they left, I locked the door and collapsed onto the floor. And for the first time since I regained my sight, I cried. Not because I was weak, but because I was done being kind. I called my father. My voice didn't shake. My hands didn't tremble. I told him everything. The betrayal. The plan. The lies. I expected rage. What I didn't expect was how calmly he said, "Then we cancel the wedding." "No," I replied. The word surprised even me. "The wedding will happen," I said. "But it will end on my terms." There was a pause. Then my father laughed. Not because it was funny, but because he finally recognized the daughter he had raised. I just needed one thing. A man who would stand beside me. Not out of love, but out of purpose. And fate answered faster than I expected. That night, the city felt colder than usual. I was walking alone when shadows closed in around me. Hands reached. Voices whispered threats. Fear flashed through me. But it didn't own me. I ran. And then, I collided with someone solid. Tall. Still. Unshaken. The men froze the moment they saw him. They ran without a word. The stranger didn't ask questions. He simply draped his coat over my shoulders. Warm. Protective. And for the first time that day, I felt safe. I looked up at him. He was my childhood friend Jake. I never expected to meet him this way after a long time. And before doubt could stop me, I asked, "Will you marry me?" His silence lasted 3 seconds. Then he smiled. And said, "I was wondering how long it would take you to ask." The scenario became a bit hot and funny that we laughed afterwards. We made a deal. A fake marriage. A public partnership. A private alliance. He didn't try to control me. He didn't pity me. He listened. And that was enough. Together, we became something dangerous. The wedding day arrived like a storm wrapped in silk. My dress shimmered under the lights. My steps were steady. And when I reached the center of the hall, I stopped pretending. The screen behind me turned on. Gasps filled the room. Videos. Messages. Every stolen moment they thought was erased. My fiancé went pale. My former best friend collapsed into tears. They begged. They denied. They forgot one thing. I could see everything. I turned to them and said calmly, "Thank you for showing me who you truly are." Then I turned to the crowd. "And thank you for witnessing my rebirth." By the end of the night, their future was gone. No inheritance. No marriage. No forgiveness. Only consequences. I walked out of that hall alone. Not because I was abandoned, but because I no longer needed anyone to stand in front of me. The world finally saw me. And I made sure it would never look down on me again. Hey, besties, your support helps us create more amazing stories. Please like and subscribe for more.